we start the stream. I'm a little sleepy for some reason. But let's start Umineko no Naku Koro ni. With Jessica's death, it became certain that the culprit was hiding somewhere nearby. They'd come for our lives if they had the chance. According to Genji, when tomorrow morning comes, the boat should arrive. The boat had a radio. We'd probably be able to contact the police directly with that. All of us gather in the parlor and decide to wait quietly until tomorrow. I propose that we should search throughout the mansion for clues about the culprit. But Aunt Rosa rejected that, saying if we managed to corner the culprit, or maybe provoke him, it might lead to a third murder. That was probably the right thing to do. A bunch of amateurs like us investigated. There's no way we'd find anything. It'd be wiser to just focus on protecting ourselves without doing anything necessary and leave it to the police starting tomorrow. We've been tense at the beginning, but other than Aunt Rosa, most of us have spent all morning watching TV and getting bored, so our sense of danger had faded considerably. When we thought about it, yes, 6 adults certainly had been killed together in the first murder. Give me a moment, Okay, hold on. Okay. When we thought about it, yes, 6 adults certainly had been killed together in the first murder. But that seemed like it was some backhanded method, like poison had been used. And for the second murder, we figured those two became sacrifices because they'd been unfortunately isolated from the rest of us. From this, it was possible to imagine the culprit was in a large number of adults. They wouldn't be capable of killing this large group gathered in the parlor all at once. Right now in the parlor, there's George and me, Maria, Aunt Rosa, Genji, Goda, Shannon, Kumasawa, and then Dr. Nanjo, for a total of 9 people. Furthermore, Aunt Rosa was even armed with a gun. Surely, with this many people staying in this room, they wouldn't be able to touch us easily. That feeling of security, along with the passage of time, allowed us to recover from the shock of that morning, bit by bit. By the way, lunchtime had just ended for us. However, it had been a canned food lunch and a far cry from the dinner last night that Goda had skillfully made for us. Aunt Rosa also suspected that poison may have been used in the first murder, so you probably can deny the possibility the culprit had snuck into the kitchen during all the confusion in the morning and mixed poison with the ingredients there. Aunt Rosa gave us orders to all of us, saying that until the police came, we mustn't put anything into our mouths except safe things like canned food. As a cook, Goda must have felt very let down. Apparently eager to display his skill anyway, he said he at least wanted to grab some plates and arrange the canned food on them. If it were me, I'd be like, screw the poison, I'm going to eat! At first, Aunt Rosa had been reluctant examining each one of the plates that were bought, but she hadn't been able to find anything to complain about. Goda's chef-picked canned food to lunch combo was born. Goda said something about the taste being savored not just with the tongue, but with the eyes as well. I see. It's the same canned food we ate for breakfast, but it feels like something completely different.
Ah! Battler! Look! This is the wolves and sheep's puzzle! Ah!
As I was sitting lazily on the sofa with no desire to watch TV, Maria came over and pulled out a picture book out of her handbag and held it out to me. What's that book? Wolves and Sheep's Puzzle. Let's see. Wolves and Sheep's Puzzle. It was a phrase that Aunt Rosa had said this morning when we got a call on Jessica. At the time, I hadn't known what it meant. Right after this was the uproar Jessica's corpse was found, so I'd forgotten about it completely. The book that Maria had held out to me looked like a foreign picture book or something that had been translated. When I opened it, I realized it was a book stuffed with riddles.
Ah! So you have a few wolves and a few sheep, okay? The puzzle's how you take them out on the other side using one bow.
I've heard of games with rules like that. So this is a version with wolves and sheep? It was a very simple puzzle, passed on from long ago. Let's try posing a question. On the right bank, there are 2 wolves and 2 sheep. There's a boat that has many as 2 animals can ride on, and using it, you have to move all 4 of them to the opposite left bank. That's the puzzle. There are 2 rules. The first rule is regarding the boat. Even a single wolf or a sheep can paddle it. but it can only hold 2 animals. The second rule is regarding the wolves. When they're greater in number than the sheep in any location, they attack the sheep and it's game over. For example, at the start of the game, let's say the 2 sheep get in the boat and go to the other side. The one sheep gets off and the other goes back to the first bank. When it does, there are 2 wolves on the first bank and a single sheep returns there. When that happens, the number of wolves is greater, so the sheep is attacked and it's game over. On either bank or even the boat, there must never be more wolves than sheep. You gotta shell them all across under these conditions. By the way, the right answer is to move both wolves to the opposite bank in the first turn. Then 1 wolf comes back. On the second turn, you move 2 sheep to the opposite bank. Then 1 wolf comes back. Then on the third turn, you put the last wolf that was on the right bank on the boat. And congratulations, cross the boat. You can tell I'm tired. Then on the third turn, you put that last wolf that was on the right bank on the boat and cross to the opposite bank. And congratulations, transport successful. Partway, there may be the same number of wolves and sheep in the boat or on either side, but that isn't a problem. You can only lose when the number of wolves is greater. This book uses wolves and sheep as an example, but lots of people know this game using different characters. It looked like Maria wanted to test it whether I too could solve the puzzle she knew how to solve. She kept showing me different pages saying solve this one and this one's hard. So what was happening when Aunt Rosa first mentioned this puzzle? That's right. When we decided to go and get Jessica, we talked about how many men should go. Aunt Rosa mentioned the wolves and sheep puzzle saying we should all go together. Wait a sec. That could only mean one thing. Aunt Rosa was saying that there was a wolf among us. So she was thinking that we'd be safe if the number of wolves and sheep was in balance, but that the wolves would bare their fangs if the situation changed. At the time we found our parents' corpses, Aunt Rosa already suspected that the servants might be wolves. She sniffed out the possibility that, while she didn't know whether it was all of them or some of them, there were wolves hiding among them. That's no surprise. The murder scene was very elaborate. It's easy to imagine there were multiple culprits, because she reached a conclusion when we went to Jessica's room and learned that Jessica had been killed after being alone with a servant Kanon. It isn't hard to imagine why Aunt Rosa suspected the servant so persistently. You servants, Goda is going to the kitchen to clean the dishes. Just in case, would you please all go with him? My apologies, everyone. Let us go as a group. Shannon, Kumasawa, we are going. Yes, yes, coming.
Well then, George, excuse me for now.
Yes, take care. Aunt Rosa, could I go as well? I'm sorry, but would you remain here, George? There's something I want to talk to you about. Is that so? Sorry, Shannon. Anyway, take care. Don't be alone. Yes. I'm sorry, Dr. Nanjo. I wanted to consult you about something. Yes, what could it be? The servants put the dishes in empty cans on the serving cart and started to head out into the corridor. Behind them, Aunt Rosa was talking to Dr. Nanjo about something in a small voice. Understood. I will go. Yes, I'm counting on you. Dr. Nanjo closed the book he had been reading, rose from the sofa, and followed after the servants. Aunt Rosa stuck her head out into the hallway. After seeing they were completely out of sight, she closed the door and spoke. Listen up, everyone! With that, everyone here is an Ushiromiya. Yes, that's true. So you're saying that you've chased out all the wolves. Aunt Rosa? With that one sentence, Aunt Rosa's gaze grew sharp. Apparently, she picked up on the sarcasm. She laughed lightly. Your mind sure works fast, Battler. I like clever kids. It means there's less to explain.
Battler's smart?
No, he don't.
Can you solve this? Page 64 is hard.
Maria, go watch TV for a bit. Mama wants to talk to Battler and George. Aunt Rosa, I heard about the puzzle from Battler. I don't think it's wrong to be on our guard, but I think there's such thing as being too suspicious. Whether the real culprit is Beatrice or not, there's a reason for us to suspect that the servants are in on it. In the first murder, where Nisa and the others were killed, they were treated very brutally, right? Did that look like something that could have been done alone? Maybe the mystery guest Beatrice worked all night and did it all. And what about the master key in the door to Jessica's room? Isn't that proof that one of the servants was involved? Only the master key could have locked the door to Jessica's room, so we can only suppose that one of the servants did it. No. Wait. Spin the chessboard around. That's strange, Aunt Rosa. After killing Jessica, why would the culprit go to all the trouble of locking the door? The fact that it was locked made it inevitable the owners of the master key would be suspected. There's no reason for them to go all the trouble of locking the door. That's right. It's just as Battler says. There's no need for them to go through all the trouble of making themselves look suspicious. Yes, that's an interesting thought. Of course I also thought that. If that's the case, then the person who locked it wanted to cast suspicion on the servants and locked it without a master key. But that's impossible. Right? That's right. If there existed some trick that could lock the door without a master key, this would make a great disguise for casting down the servants. If the culprit's goal was for us to isolate ourselves from the group so they could attack us one by one, this trick would also be effective at giving rise to paranoia. There's no way to lock that door without using a master key. How can you be sure there's no way to lock that door without a master key? Isn't that a devil's proof like Rudolph was talking about earlier? Maybe it was locked by some method we can't think of. Even if we can't think of a way, we can't deny the possibility of some unknown trick being used. That's true too, I guess. So is that it? No smoke without fire again? I don't know the practical details of the trick, but I have a general idea. My apologies, but if we make an assumption that Kanon was the culprit, it can be explained extremely easily. Even as to why there's no corpse. Huh? But Kanon didn't have a master key, right? Putting aside the other servants, at least Kanon shouldn't have been able to lock the door. I see. So that's why you told us to search in the closet and everywhere else right after we entered Jessica's room. Aunt Rosa, your mind works faster than I would have guessed from how you normally act. The brain speed of a little sister is always the big sister's -1. Right now, there's no need... The brain speed of a little sister is always the big sister's -1. Right now, there's no one I need to worry about offending, which is certainly a relief. Heh, I know, right? George realized she was referring to Aunt Ava and seemed a little uncertain about how he should take that sarcasm. Well, your mom is not very nice, let's just be honest. I love her, but she's not nice. I'm sorry. Could you explain it so even I can understand? Kanon's master key was in Jessica's pocket, closed up inside a closed room. After the door was locked, it should have been impossible to put it in her pocket from the outside of the room, no matter what trick he used. That's not it, Aniki. If it was done the way Aunt Rose is thinking of, this trick could easily only be used by Kanon. Plus, the door could be locked without using a key, while the master key was still in Jessica's pocket. It would also result in his corpse disappearing. How? How could he lock the door without a key? It's simple. When you return home, you lock the door, right? You twist the knob, and you're done, right? Huh? Could it be... No, but... Kanon was nowhere to be found. Looks like you've got it, Aniki. That's what Aunt Rosa was searching the room for. She was searching for Kanon, who had locked the door from the inside and stuck the key in Jessica's pocket, before hiding somewhere, waiting for us to walk right past him. It was the simplest kind of closed room trick. It meant him hiding inside the closed room after the murder was committed. All he had to do was get out after those who discovered the body left. The closed room murder would work perfectly. When we searched that room, we didn't find anything. But for all we know, that room might have a hidden passage only the servants know about. We don't know where such a thing might be hidden. But if we assume that there was such a passage, we can conclude it was impossible for everyone but him. Well, about that line of reasoning, I thought of that too at the very beginning. It's the kind of reasoning I hate the most, so I want to destroy right at the start. Kanon was killed in this room. Right. You apparently suspect that Kanon was the culprit, so you may repeat this to destroy that possibility right off the bat. Yes, I understand.
So this is what I thought next. I made a theory where there were actually 3 people in that room. Jessica and Kanon were victims. The culprit, the guest, Beatrice, was also there with them.
You wanted to make the human me who committed the crime without using magic. I see. A bizarre theory that suits you perfectly.
I guess that you killed those 2 and locked the door from the inside. And that's how you carried Kanon's corpse away using some secret method that normal people wouldn't notice. In other words, you used a secret door to escape. But you told me in red. You said no kind of hidden door existed in that room.
Indeed. There can exist no secret passages that you are all not aware of. Was it Nox who said it, or was it Van Dien?
Oh my god, it was there! Right? I did not notice!
I'm not smart at all. I never thought they were mentioned before. It seems in mystery novels there must never be hidden passages. I simply follow that etiquette.
Oh, I was there all along. God damn, it's stupid. So even without having to thoroughly search the room, a famous detective could conclude that no secret passages exist.
Oh, oops, sorry. Let me try that again. That's Beatrice's line. So without even having to thoroughly search the room, a famous detective could conclude there's no secret passages exist. Humans playing detective have it so easy.
Damn you talking so big! Thanks! Thanks to the mighty witch being so diplomatic, I get to conclude the room has no hidden doors without searching the whole thing.
Indeed. There are no hidden doors in this room. There is no way to get in or out other than the door and the windows.
Which means, the theory Aunt Rose is so confident in is wrong. Also, annoyingly, it's impossible to disprove her theory. If you, the witch, say there are no hidden rooms, there are no hidden doors in red, then it's settled.
Wait, why did Valor forget that he used the red before? Okay, I'm just joking around. I'm just, like, sleepy.
However, no matter how much a human like me tries to argue against her, Aunt Rosa probably won't accept it. Humans can't prove there's no hidden door. It's a devil's proof. Damn. Sure is convenient being a witch. No way! To call Kanon the culprit because of a hidden door we don't even know exists. I can't accept that. If you can't accept it, then find me a different theory that's more convincing.
There is none. I've been thinking this whole time. There's no other option.
George, you and Shannon are close, right? I imagine that's why you find it so hard to accept that all the servants are culprits. Even I don't want to believe that Shannon is in league with the culprit. But whether they're all connected or not, there's definitely a culprit. Or maybe an accomplice in that group. The point alone is something you absolutely need to understand. If you guess that there were wolves besides Kanon, does that mean the uproar you caused by accusing Kanon in Jessica's room was to gauge the reactions of other servants? Yes, that's right. And as a result, I began to suspect them even more. There's certainly a wolf among the servants. Certainly. And just like in the wolves and sheep's puzzle, while they may be docile most of the time, they'll surely attack if they get the chance. Jessica was a lone sheep on the boat. In Maria's version of the puzzle, they may not attack when there's an equal number of wolves and sheep, but our puzzle is different. Depending on the situation and the number of people, they'll attack even if there's a balance. Just like when Jessica was killed. That's something that makes me mad. If that's true, then when you made Shannon go in the kitchen, you put her in a dangerous situation, didn't you? We should go to the kitchen right now, too! No matter who or may or not be a wolf. If staying together means that we remain in balance, I think we should keep it that way. Shannon went to see Father along with Genji. At the time, she was supposedly isolated when she wasn't killed. Was it because Genji wasn't a wolf either? Wrong! It's because they were both wolves. Shadow isn't the kind of person who would take part in a crime. I can't let a comment like that slide, not even from you, Aunt Rosa. I demand that you take back what you just said.
Remember what George says here.
I hate saying this in front of Aniki, but the way that you're arguing feels like something Aunt Ava might say. It's like you're automatically assuming you're right unless we can counter your argument. So you can't fight against your own blood after all, Aunt Rosa.
Oh yeah, got grandfather's temper. Well, yeah, I got a temper running in my family too.
Even I can't think of myself as very praiseworthy right now. But guess what? I'm a mother. I'd become even a demon to protect Maria's safety. I really wish I could shut myself away somewhere alone with her. But I also plan to act as a mother to you two. Right now you're practically my children. Even if you are my own, I won't forsake you. No matter what.
Well, thanks for that.
I just want to warn you not to be careless as your mother. Stay where I can see you at all times. I will protect you. At the same time, you'll be observing us to make sure we aren't wolves.
Yeah, thanks a lot for that.
Can you, Aunt Rosa, prove that you aren't a wolf yourself?
Yes, I can.
That's a quick answer. How? With this. This is my proof.
Yep. Aunt Rosa lifted her gun and pointed the barrel at me.
It was only for an instant. She immediately lowered the gun, laughing impishly. But to me, the time I spent staring down the barrel of that gun felt like an eternity. How does that gun prove you aren't the culprit, Aunt Rosa? Think about it. What if I were the culprit? Would I really give up the once-in-a-lifetime chance I got when the servants left? I could just shoot you and then think of a fitting excuse later. Something like Beatrice appeared outside the window and started shooting at us. I just need to leave 2 empty cartridges on the ground and say I fired back at her twice. Well, that's a crazy violent way to argue it, but it does make sense.
Rosa, what the hell?
There's something Krause used to say all the time, long ago. Might is right. Maybe that really is true. I'm sorry, you two. I've somewhat lost my composure after all the crimes this morning. You know how I normally am, so I must seem desperate and a bit short-tempered right now. But please understand, I want to protect you from a malicious culprit. I will become a demon to do that. That's all there is to it. I'm sorry for saying something that angered you. Valor, George, let's make up. An unsatisfied expression rose to George's face. He probably couldn't forgive the damage done to Shannon's honor. What about me? Several bits of circumstantial evidence hinted at the servant's participation. I didn't want to believe that one was the culprit, or possibly colluding with the culprit. But in our current situation, that's a little more than wishful thinking. Whom should I believe? In the first place, who's the culprit? Are there accomplices? And if so, how many? It seems I've only been suspecting people we know. I quickly forgot that 19th person. The guest Beatrice who arrived yesterday and boldly claimed to be the Golden Witch. In fact, I still haven't seen her face. I heard she greatly resembled the witch in that portrait. But since I haven't seen her directly, no matter how hard I try, it doesn't really feel like to me that the 19th person is still on this island. I've been subconsciously hallucinating that culprit's one of the 18. Damn it! Come out, Beatrice. If you're the bad guy, then act like the bad guy and show yourself laughing in a high-pitched voice and mocking us. Just like the bad guy in one of those dramas who, even when they're exposed as a culprit, aggressively says, "Where's your proof?" Where's your proof? Shut up! No more talking. Insert Beatrice commentary here. I'm tired, so if I'm not speaking smoothly, that's why. There were 5 humans in the kitchen, but it was very quiet and filled with only the sound of rain. It was only accented by the sound of Shannon and Kumasawa washing the dishes. Goto was using leftovers from the breakfast and lunch ingredients for his soup.
Rosa had suspected that poison might be added to the food, so they decided to eat canned goods, but it hadn't been too satisfying. Ogoda thought she was being too cautious. I agree! So he spontaneously created a soup to serve only to those who wanted some. Shannon and Kuma-san were washing the dishes the food had been arranged on. On the inside, they thought maybe Goda should wash them since he's the one who wanted the food arranged on plates in the first place. But they left their complaints unsaid for the time being. Genji and Nanja were facing each other across a crude chess set that had many years of experience. The game had still only just begun. Because the opening game of these experienced players had been honed to perfection, it looked like the ceremony they just moved different specified pieces in a specified order. That's a nice aroma. You wouldn't get this from canned food. It was made only from the sealed ingredients, so there won't be any poison mixed in. I might making enough for everybody, so please eat. Of course, it will also taste for poison. Please feel secure and eat. That really is a nice aroma. Goda, the food you cook is really delicious. Being able to create delicious food when you buy delicious ingredients is hardly special. My master taught me a true cook needs to perfect their ability to make delicious food from whatever is on hand. That was a good master. Thanks to him, it looks like we'll get to enjoy some truly delicious soup. Although it was a shame it was made for ingredients that was intended for all the family members to eat. Free food! I'm sure Rosa is tired after everything that happened this morning. It is only natural. But thanks to that, we get to drink some soup made from delicious ingredients. Rosa had fervently warned everyone they didn't understand the dangers they were in. They must assume that poison was mixed in the food. The mood at the time had led them to agree, but hunger wasn't something that could be swayed by a momentary emotion like that. Ironically, we ended up with a soup that we normally wouldn't be able to savor. If possible, I'd like to serve it to everyone in the parlor, but seeing that it would violate Rosa's instructions, we had best give up on that idea. It's enough that only those who want to eat it do so. Skillfully taking a breather when no one else is looking is also an important skill for a servant, isn't it? Ha ha ha! You said that right. Yeah, busy work. When Kumasawa cackled, Shannon and Goda laughed too. It seemed that in the space where only their fellow servants were gathered, they could relax quite a bit. If you ask me, screw professionalism! People should just act like people! Shannon didn't like Goda's occasional dishonesty, but she knew that there was no falsehood in his childish smile when he cooked, nor in his desire for people to enjoy his food. So even though it was a little aggravating to be made to wash the dishes, she couldn't really hate him. Plus, he makes food, so he's automatically forgivable. However, they couldn't have dreamed that Rosa was calling them wolves in the parlor exactly at the same moment they were spending their time peacefully like this. At the same time, several of the servants heard a sound like something being dragged and then a thump. Sound like it was made by a servant outside the back door when they were carrying a mound of trash bags on a rainy day. Or maybe when a servant was returning from work wearing a raincoat. So at first that sound didn't seem like anything out of the ordinary to them, but they soon realized right now everybody was either in the kitchen or in the parlor, so who could possibly be at the back door? As the servants all looked at each other, they checked to make sure that each one of them knew what that sound meant. Who could it be? The servants knew the mansion's layout well. They understood how incomprehensible it would be for someone from the parlor to actually go outside in this typhoon, go all the way around, and come back up to this back door. Then was it Kinzo? They couldn't imagine that Kinzo, who never left his study, wished dash down the middle of this typhoon and come back to the back of the house where only low-class people ever entered or exited. Yes, Kinzo is like, ooh, the rain! Hello, servants. That wasn't our imagination, was it? Oh! Shannon and Kumasawa drew close together, fearfully looking at the back door. Who is it? As Goda fearfully approached the back door, he called out. His eyes flashed toward the butcher's knife that sat in the nearby sink. He didn't pick it up yet, because there was still a possibility this was a member of the family. However, that possibility was impossible. There was no response from across the door to Goda's initial question. Maybe his voice had been so quiet it hadn't reached through all the wind and the rain outside. Genji! Yes. Stand back. Dr. Nanjo and the woman. Who in the world could it be? Genji took a knife with a classical design from a stationery box placed near the chest set. It was something to be used instead of a paper knife to open envelopes for statements of deliveries and bills. But it was still a knife, so the blade on it could injure someone. Genji hid it in his sleeve with a well-practiced motion. Then he approached the back door himself, giving Goda a silent nod. Goda cautiously approached the back door and slowly started to open it. Goda's gonna show his Sakuya moves. The shadow of the person slowly shoved into the sight, landed on its knees, and fell over. Goda fell backwards on his backside and couldn't get up. That human shadow was soaked with rain, smeared with mud, and drenched with blood. Kanon! Kanon! Kanon, are you alright? Dr. Nanjo. It was Kanon. His breath was feeble. The puddles of mud he left were quickly drenched bright red. When Nanjo held him and turned him face up, there was a deep, gruesome wound right in the center of his chest, as though he'd been stabbed there by a spear or something. Even now, deep red blood poured out from there. This is horrible! What shall we do? Get first aid kit! A first aid kit! Kano, place your hand against the wound. Please push firmly. Let's carry him to the bed in the servant room. Everyone, please lend a hand. Come now, Kanon. Please hang in there a little longer. Hang in there! It'll be okay! So don't take your hand from the wound. At any rate, let's carry him to the servant room. The Masawa, inform Rosa we have found Kanon. Wait. Not... Rosa. Please wait. Kanon said not Rosa. What do you mean, Kanon? This is no time for that. Let's quickly carry him to the servant room. Kumasawa, do not tell Rosa yet. We will do it after we hear the situation from Kanon. Yes! He had told them not to tell Rosa right after appearing in this state. This could only mean something very disquieting. An eerie anxiety rose to their faces. Come now, everyone! Let's hurry and carry him! Quickly, quickly! Kanon's wound was unbelievably deep, and judging from Nanjo's pale face, it was a miracle he was still cautious. This is horrible. He appears to have been stabbed by something like a spear. If it hasn't reached his lungs, I might be able to do something. At any rate, we must stop the bleeding. No matter how much Nanjo tried to wipe out that gushing deep red blood, he couldn't do anything. He couldn't wipe it all away. And each time, the wound was aggravated, causing Kanon to cry in anguish. Kanon! 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 Hang in there! Hang in there! Dr. Nanjo! Here's a new towel. How horrible. What is his condition? In all honesty, this is so severe I cannot believe he is alive. Maybe the location of the wound was fortunate. But the blood loss is too horrible. Blood transfusion is necessary. That will be impossible till tomorrow. Rosa. To us. Don't talk, Kanon! Your wound will open! Rosa came to Milady and me and... What did you say? Rosa did? Oh, could that mean? Could that mean? Are you certain? Yes.
I'm certain it was Rosa. Come now, don't speak any more. Kumasawa, please grab another first aid kit. Genji, is it possible Rosa did such a thing? I do not know.
Disregarding Nanjo and Kumasawa, who were struggling hard, stained with blood as they tried to stop the bleeding, Genji and Goda faced each other. Because if what Kanon said was the truth, Rosa was the culprit who killed Jessica.
Curse you, Rosa. How could you do that to Milady? I'll kill you. I will kill you!
Kanon screamed even more hatefully. His hate-filled voice made it seem like he was seeing Jessica being harmed right in front of his eyes.
Certainly, Rosa may have had a reason to kill Milady. If everyone in the Ushiromiya family were destroyed, the inheritance would all go to Rosa. So if Balor and George are in danger, not only is Rosa holding a gun, but right now they're the only ones in the lounge. Genji, isn't this situation quite perilous?
Shadow suddenly ran out into the corridor. Her expression was complex and tragic, as though she didn't know what to believe. Shannon ran. To where? The inside of the mansion had been scrupulously cleaned, so it probably wouldn't be easy to find. She might find it if she searched the rose garden. They'd probably all been lost in this wind and rain. That's right. The boiler room isn't cleaned very often. If she went there, she might be able to find it. Shannon ran downstairs to find that in the underground boiler room. Did some medicine take effect after the brink of death? Or was Kanon finally beyond feeling pain? For the time being, at least Kanon's painful gasping had subsided. Nanjo apparently didn't view this as a very good sign. He didn't let his eyes off Kanon for a second. Kumasawa firmly gripped Kanon's hand and kept encouraging him so that the willpower keeping him alive didn't fade away. Genji and Goda seemed uncertain how to respond to the truth Kanon had risked his life to deliver.
Rosa's gun surely has 5 to 4 shots loaded. That is no small number, but loading cartridges into a Winchester should require a lot of practice. She might be able to get one shot off, but if everyone attacks her at once, we should be able to take the gun from her before she shoots again.
Sorry, I switched their voices because I made a mistake and I'm tired.
We may have a doctor on the island, but we have no access to medicine and no hospital. If the location of the shot is bad, that person will die. I understand that, but more importantly, if we don't move quickly, there's a chance another crime will occur. It seems to me that Rosa managed to cleverly chase us out. Maybe George and Val are being killed right now. If our foe is so dangerous, would it be better if we didn't provoke them too much? But tomorrow is still a long way off. We can't even imagine what strategy she might use. Genji, we should take action first. If we can at least steal the gun under the same pretext, it might work out. There are 4 or 5 cartridges, are there not? That means there aren't enough to kill all of us. As long as we don't carelessly provoke her, surely even Rosa wouldn't be that rash. No, she said it. She said she'll massacre all of us.
Kanon, who they thought was sleeping quietly, suddenly started talking brightly. Almost as though he had been awake this whole time, and suddenly opened his mouth. Kanon looked firm and steady, which relieved Nanjo a bit, and considering the depth of that wound, he couldn't wipe away a certain creepy feeling. He knew because he was a doctor. After losing so much blood, Kanon might easily have lost consciousness, and yet somehow, he was still intensely aware of his surroundings. Was it youth? Or was it tenacity? Sometimes the power of human life surpassed common knowledge. While stopping the bleeding, Nanjo had groped around a bit inside the bleeding pool with tweezers, making sure there were no foreign objects inside the infected area. The depth of the great wound had shocked him. It certainly reached as far as his lungs. And yet... No, but the fact he's still alive is wonderful. But Kanon had spoken clearly. He hatefully stated that one named Rosa made this wound, cursing and raging over and over and over. She wants to kill everyone by any means necessary before the typhoon passes, so she can have the master's wealth all to herself. She told me that clearly. Damn! What a person! Genji, what should we do? Are there any weapons we can... I find it hard to believe, to think that Rosa would say something like that. Genji, it isn't a question of whether you believe or not. She told me. I heard it. Why won't you believe me? Don't get up. You'll harm your wound. Kanon sat up on the bed speaking to Genji, who didn't seem to be willing to believe Kanon's story. She'll definitely kill all of us. She must have killed everyone in the parlor by now. If we don't kill her first, we'll definitely be killed first. Just like how I was killed, everyone else will also be killed first. Kill or be killed. Kill or be killed. Kill or be killed. Kanon, does that really not hurt? Oh, this is nothing. What do you mean it's nothing? It really isn't that big of a deal. It doesn't even hurt anymore. It's really nothing. As Kanon said that, he began to untie the bandages that had been painstakingly wrapped. The gruesome hole in his chest was immediately exposed. Kanon, you mustn't do that! Lie down quickly! I said it's fine. Hey, see? This is nothing, right? Kanon shut off his gaping wound, which was still slowly spitting out foamy blood. Everyone averted their eyes reflexively. Look, I told you it wasn't a serious wound at all. Stop, you mustn't play with the wound. Come on, see? It isn't a deep wound at all. Look. Kanon held up 2 fingers, showing them to everyone, slowly started to stick them into the gruesome wound right in the center of his chest. Plunging, slimy, squishy, wet, the fingers went in deep, all the way to their bases. Kanon! Stop it! Those fingers were sticking all the way into his chest, up to their bases. He slowly pulled them out, in exactly the same way. The fingers he pulled out were stained a sticky, solid, deep red color, and there was even a thread hanging. The fingers were covered up to their bases in deep red. What in the world? See? It is not a serious wound at all, see? At that moment, the door was slammed open and Shannon appeared. Even after she saw Kanon stained with flesh blood, her impregnable expression did not falter. Hey, Nei-san, where'd you go? I'm on the verge of death here, so where'd you go? That's right. I went to the boiler room. There was something I had to find. More importantly, there's something I need to ask you. Are you really Kanon? What? It's only natural. Everyone believed he was Kanon, so they couldn't understand the meaning of Shannon's question. When they looked, they noticed Shannon was holding a handkerchief in her hand. It was filthy. It looked like it was used to wipe up some trash or dust. While holding that, she approached Kanon, drawing closer to his feet. What is that? It's a handkerchief with a spider's web wiped onto it. Why did you bring something like that? If you're Kanon, you should be fine. But if spiders are your natural enemy, I thought you might not like it. Are you kidding? Why would I hate spiders? Sorry, I'll try it. Shannon! When Shannon brought that handkerchief close to Kanon's thigh, something happened in an instant. It happened all at once. The human eye couldn't have followed it. Kanon jumped like a wild goat, fleeing from the thing Shannon was holding. Then from his arm some kind of afterglow flashed purple and drew a curve through space. The arc which drew 3 beautiful purple curves traced across the throats of Nanjo and Kumasawa, who had been tending to him. In an instant, Nanjo and Kumasawa's throats opened like gaping mouths, and the blood really started spewing out. The 3rd purple curve should have traced across Shannon's throat. But Shannon wasn't there, because Genji, who had been behind her, had wrapped his own arm around Shannon's neck and pulled her back. This all happened in an instant. In the instant it took Goda to think of something fast and attempt to understand the scene, the frozen moment in time shattered. Blood was gushing from Nanjo and Kumasawa's torn open necks. Kanon jumped back and kicked off a picture frame that had been hanging from the wall behind him, springing forward just like a cat and aiming for Shannon's throat again. But Kanon's target once again disappeared in front of him. Because Genji had pulled Shannon again, the two of them had fallen to the ground in a defensive crouch. Nice fleet reflex, you senile old furniture! Goda. Even Goda was no fool. Even if he couldn't fully understand what was going on, he at least understood that this Kanon wasn't seized. His own life would also be in peril. He sprung at Kanon with his huge body, pushing it up against the wall with all of his weight and physical strength. Let go! Another purple curve was drawn from the tips of his fingers on Kanon's right hand. And when he raised that hand like a sword aiming for Goda's back, there was a loud thunk, because Kanon's right hand had been pinned to the wall. He couldn't tear his palm away from the wall. Sticking out from it was the knife Genji had thrown. Under normal circumstances, it would have been surprising to see someone as old as Genji handle a knife so skillfully, but in this abnormal space, no one paid it much mind. Genji, take this! Indeed. Genji took the handkerchief with the spiderweb stuck onto it from Shannon. He approached Kanon, who was pinned to the wall by Goda's massive body and the knife. Stop it! Keep that away from me! Stop it! Stop! When Genji pushed the handkerchief up against Kanon's face, there was a sound like setting meat on a red-hot iron plate. Of course, the smell was the same too, as he was horribly burned, festering in filthy red and black, crying out his death throes. Kanon's body burst open and scattered. It was almost as though a balloon filled with gold leaf had popped. The entire servant room was completely buried under a storm of gold leaf. No, a cloud of gold butterflies. Those butterflies began to softly fade, as though into water, or rather into the empty air itself. And afterwards, all that was left was the three survivors sitting on their butts, stained with blood. However, not everyone here was merely stained with blood. Some of them were merely lying on the ground, spurting out blood themselves. Kumasawa! Dr. Nanjo! Slits so sharp they looked like they cut your finger if you touched them open wide. Large amounts of blood kept pouring out. What was that? Just now! Goda, you've been injured. I'm fine. But what did we just see? What happened? I know I pushed that thing against the wall with my own hand, but even I cannot understand what happened. Goda looked at his own hand. The bright red blood left from his scuffle with Kanon definitely remained, and yet Kanon was nowhere to be seen, because he had disappeared. He transformed into gold butterflies and scattered. Goda kept screaming alone without a clue what was going on. Shadow sobbed in front of Nanjo and Kumasawa's remains, as Genji watched over her silent as always. Alright. Oof. Okay, I think I'll make a save. And before we go, we have to read the tippies, of course. So let's see. Nanjo. Family Dr. Nanjo died in the servant room. His throat sliced open by a sharp blade or something similar. However, this alone isn't enough.
Servant Kanon. There's no corpse. Wait. No, we can't read that yet. Servant Kumasawa died in the servant room. Her throat sliced open by a sharp blade or something similar. The finishing touches are yet to come. Huh. Wonder what that means. Alright. Huh, okay. Well, I'm done for tonight. I'm tired. Good night.